that. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. We are starting the fourth chapter. He titles it over here, Human Responsibility. Okay, B'matzavo shel adam b'olam hazeh, v'adrachim shel lefanav b'derech prat. Okay, so we're going to go into more detail. We spoke about it in a very general sense, the situation of the human being in this world and the pathways in front of him. We're now going to go into detail regarding that, and we're going to have a better understanding of what our goal is in life in a much more detailed fashion now. Okay, so he says like this, Matzavo shel adam b'olam hazeh, in the person's situation in this world, a person's condition or situation, yibchanu shnei inyanim. There are two matters, two aspects that have to be understood. Tchunas atzmo shel adam mechalakav v'harkava. Some we have to understand the person, the individual, the human being, in all of their details. V'makom asher musambo, as well as the place that we are placed in. B'chol mash mislavelo, everything that's associated with it. So we're going to go into two separate and obviously connecting, intersecting discussions. One is the human being, the status of who we are, what does it look like to be a human being, and then we're going to discuss the world around us. Okay, so he says like this: B'chinas adam atzmo, regarding the individual himself, hine kavar zacharnu echu murkav. We discussed how every human being is a combination. Shenitchu bo shnei hafachim, which placed together as two opposites. V'hainu haneshama v'aguf. We are made up of both soul and body. V'ulam, however, hine anachnu ro'im beinenu. We see in our eyes shachamrios rishoni bo. We see that physicality, after the sin of Adam and Chava, the physicality is primary. V'toldosav chazak was bo me'od, and the impact of physicality is very strong. Kinei miyad acher leida. So we know immediately after birth, kimat kulo chamri. We're basically entirely physical. By physical, we mean we're self-centered. We are not in a necessarily negative sense, right? But a child is not aspirational, altruistic, etc., etc. They're not thinking about anything other than their needs, their basic needs, right? We are, and as we get older, the idea of getting older is that we're not as physical, but basically starts entirely physical, entirely self-centered. And our intellect only impacts us a very little bit. And as we get older, our intellect gets stronger. Okay, each person according to their each person in their own independent way. And nonetheless, our physicality will not rest from ruling over us, and pushing us towards its matter. However, if we grow in our wisdom, and we learn in it, in other words, we deepen our connection to it, and we strengthen ourselves in its ways, we're able to overcome its nature, as long as we don't throw away the muzzle of taiva, of desire, from our hands. Okay, and we have to strengthen ourselves in the ways of the intellect. Okay, one second. Okay, let's just finish the next paragraph. What we see, we see that again, that nature, our nature is one of darkness, of physicality. And it is very distant, and we are very distant from connecting to Hashem. Our soul itself. Okay, let's pause over here for a second. What he's describing over here is as follows. What he's describing is that at the end of the day, although we were created initially with this perfect equilibrium between body and soul, after Adam's sin, we came to a point where the physicality was overpowering, where when we look at ourselves, we no longer see this perfect balance of neshama and guf between spiritual and physical. Rather, we are completely cloaked. We almost don't see the spiritual parts of ourselves, right? There's a very beautiful a Zohar, that said, soon we're going to read Parshas Ki Seitzei, this very strange passage of Yifas Toar, of the woman of captivity, and the Zohar explains it to be all an allegory, all a metaphor. Well, in addition to the pshat, there's a metaphor as well, and that is that the soul, he says that really it's a reference to us coming into this world. We come to this world, and our neshama is captive. It's captive, and basically it's clothed in all these beautiful clothing, but it's clothing which ultimately it doesn't really fit. We live in a world where our externalities don't really fit, they don't really reflect who we really are. And the idea is, as the Gemara says, that we cry for 30 days. This woman, the Yifas Torah, cries for 30 days, and the Zohar says, Da Yarcha da Elul. This is the month of Elul. The month of Elul, we cry over the fact that there's this inconsistency, the fact that our expression is one of physical. If someone were to watch us all all day, they'd see this very physical existence, an existence which is not really who we are, who our neshama really is. It's something which it might look glamorous. They dress these women up, right? But they looked glamorous, but it's not real. It's not really who they really are, and it's heartbreaking, and it's so painful. And basically, we cry during this month. That's the month of El. And what does she do? She changes her clothing. The idea is that during this month, what we're trying to do is we are trying to change the external actions. We're trying to ensure that there's more of a matchup between who we really are inside, that soul which is hidden away, which is very hard to access, as well as our physical, or as well as our external, expression, which is the clothing that we wear. We try to ensure that we no longer have the glamorous, glitzy clothing, the things which may look superficially attractive, but rather we try to ensure that we are expressing ourselves in a real, authentic way, in a way that really expresses the soul which has been hidden away. Okay, we'll go a little bit more into this idea, God willing, in the days to come. Okay, let's stop over here. And